Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is September the 25th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday. It's my favorite day of the week. Today treated me well. It was a good day. We got up. We got to work okay. Everything was solid there. Wasn't too busy. We stayed steady all day. Got some help. And I really do actually like, and I'm going to give credit where it's due. I feel like we actually are, as we like continue to kind of like roll. I feel like the peak's kind of dying down maybe a little bit, knock on wood. Should I say pre-peak. But I think we're getting down a good rhythm, like between me and the top side management upstairs. Like they're coming down, they're checking regularly. We're having conversations. I was a little bit unnerved because now they know my breaks. They know my break schedule, which is something that I don't necessarily like because back in the day, I used to get chided about it. They wanted me to like realign my break schedule to be with everyone's upstairs or just like, the typical break schedule for my shift, which I just don't want to do. It's not me being a rebel or anything like that. I just don't feel the need to do it. And I'm literally a man apart here. I'm working downstairs. When I take my break really doesn't matter. You guys are just overthinking it. So I appreciate that they just finally said, okay, we'll work with him. Let's just figure out when he goes on break and we'll send down people accordingly. So that's been good. That's been solid. That's working out and we're not having any fussing, any fighting. Everything's just good communication. We love some good comms. So yeah, today was good. Post work, we went to the gym. It has been busier this week. I know I've been mentioning that there's like 2 times where I wasn't able to get on the Smith machine. Today I was able to get on everything, so that was good. But I did notice that I'm like, it's just more active. And I don't know why. Maybe there's a deal or something going on, whatever. But overall, I was able to get in a good workout, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, after that, we came home, and now we are here, ready to yap. So let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into it. Excuse me. All right. Our first story comes from Fox 13, Salt Lake City. Orem student dies from self-inflicted gunshot while on field trip. The death of an Orem student by self-inflicted gunshot during a field trip on Wednesday has been ruled a suicide, according to the Utah County Sheriff's Office. The Canyon View Junior High School 9th grade student died after shooting himself with a loaded gun while on a class field trip to South Fork Park in Provo Canyon. The student, whose name has not been released, was airlifted to the hospital immediately after the incident but died later due to their injuries. No other students were injured during the incident. It's not known how the student gained possession of the gun and how they were able to bring it along the field trip. According to the Alpine School District, other students on the field trip witnessed the incident, and the district has made counseling resources available to the students and staff. They also add that classes remained on schedule for Thursday and are planning on continuing for Friday. But, I mean, man, just a super sad event. I know it seems like a lot has been kind of happening in Utah right now. Definitely the second time they're getting mentioned this month, which is pretty crazy. Very sad, gun related. But I mean, you almost want to do the grim silver lining thing of like, at least this is an isolated moment where it wasn't a mass shooting. But at the same time, someone was, mentally, for some reason or another, they felt so compelled to do something like this, which is obviously very tragic, very unfortunate. But then to do it and have an audience, to me, it was just something that was just like, yeah, damn, like that's a whole other trauma in and of itself. Like, and good that, you know, like, once again, you didn't get shot or anything like that, but that is something you are going to live with for the rest of your life. That, you know, on this random field trip, your you know, student, someone you knew, you saw, just did that. So, you know, condolences to everybody. I know, you know, that doesn't mean shit for fuck, but goddamn, that was heavy, and I just wanted to start the episode off with that. I know it's a bummer, but we're going to move on to some wins, some more losses, things of that nature. But I feel like we got the worst story out of the way. From the Associated Press, Amazon to pay $2.5 billion to settle FTC allegations it duped customers into enrolling in Prime. Amazon has reached a historic $2.5 billion settlement with the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, which said the online retail giant tricked customers into signing up for its Prime memberships and made it difficult for them to cancel after doing so. The Seattle company will pay $1 billion in civil penalties, the largest such fine in the agency's history for the rule violation, and $1.5 billion will be paid back to customers who were unintentionally enrolled in Prime or were deterred from canceling their subscriptions, the agency said on Thursday. Now, something I wanted to establish is this is something we did talk about a little bit before. This actually goes way back to the Biden administration. Lena Khan had been tasked to, you know, investigate this, you know, and try to deal with it. And it was established that they were doing a thing that was pretty much called dark patterns. Essentially, you are going on the website to buy a good. You say, okay, cool, let's go to checkout. The checkout will put you in a situation where Prime, like, you know, subscribing to a Prime membership is going to be so much better, and it's going to make your life so much better. And it's also cheap. And actually, it makes this purchase so much cheaper. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't really want that. Well, maybe you can get out of it by finding a little button in the corner or something like that, and you click that, and then it'll click on through for you. Or maybe you don't quite see it, but you do see this button that says, hey, this is going to be cheaper, and you go ahead and click that. Well, now you're enrolled to Prime now. That was initially how the website was set up for a time. And essentially trapping people, you know, into it. And I think maybe the average bear is going to be okay to be like, oh, that's not what I want. I know anytime that I was in this situation trying to buy something, I was like, no, I don't want Prime. No, thank you. Thank you for showing me all the ways that this is going to make my life better. Also, I found out too, reading this article, at this point, the annual amount for Amazon Prime is $139, damn near $140. Now, granted, that's annual, right? But I mean, that means you're paying $15 a month for this shit just to like get a deal on, you know, some goods you're trying to buy. And I mean, granted, I'm sure that there is some kind of cost-effective range that you're hitting where this does make it worth it. But either way, I don't know about y'all, but I know for myself, I just want to buy my thing and get off this fucking hell site. I don't want to be on here longer than I have to be. I don't want to give you guys more money than I already am. You feel me? So no, I will wait. I don't need to get my package super prime to me or whatever, because sometimes that still fucking sucks anyway. So like, please just leave me alone. And I think a lot of people are like that. And I think about people who are either really young, you know, and maybe you're just not fully using your fucking brain when you're on here clicking your thing, and you don't have maybe parental supervision saying, hey, whoa, little Jimmy, don't do that. Or you're elderly and, you know, you might be confused and like overwhelmed by what you're doing. You just want to get your little thing, your little whatever. And next thing you know, now you have a Prime subscription that you don't need and have no intention of really using because you just wanted to buy your one fucking thing. I don't know what old people want to buy on Amazon Prime. A fishing hook? A new cane? I don't know. Oh, well, they said it was going to come so much faster. Let's go ahead and read a little bit further. The surprise settlement comes just days after the trial began in U.S. District Court in Seattle this week. At the heart of the case is the Restore Online Shoppers Confidence Act, a 2010 law designed to ensure that people know what they're being charged for online. FTC officials said Amazon had its back against the wall and the consumer refund amount exceeded even the agency's expert projections. I think it just took a few days for them to see what they were going to lose, and they came to us and they paid out, said Chris Mufaraj, director of the Bureau of Customer Protection on the settlement negotiations. Amazon, however, said it was confident it would win the case, but that it chose to resolve it quickly instead of going through potentially years of trial and appeals. The company admitted no wrongdoing in the case, which was first filed 2 years ago. I think the last part of that is especially true. Maybe they would have won the case out if it ran its course. But I think that they did not want to have this dragged all the way out. And then if they lose, they have to pay even more potentially. And they have to admit that they did something fucked up, that they betrayed the customers. Like they put profit over the people. And you never want to be caught with your hand in the cookie jar like that. So to be able to say, hey, we'll pay you a quote unquote big number, not really to them. They're just going to pay this off and not, break a sweat. But they don't have to say sorry. They don't have to admit any kind of culpability, and they get to just get right back to business. So in that regard, yeah, they don't have to go through any of the legal rigmarole anymore, and they don't have to admit culpability. It's a win-win for them. I'll go ahead and get to hit my highlighted portion. They do a little bit of blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. Certain Prime customers who are eligible for automatic refunds of up to $51 include those who may have signed up for a membership via the company's single-page checkout, among other links between June 23rd, 2019 to June 23rd, 2025. Those customers will be reimbursed within 90 days of the settlement order. Amazon is also on the hook to set up a claims process for more than 30 million customers who may have been affected by other issues at the heart of the FTC case, including its cancellation process. Now, that being said, I mean, they've already rechanged the site, so it's not as bad, quote unquote, but I still don't like how it's set up now. I think that they just kind of made it so that it is still at that legal bar and they can just be like, whatever, it's fine now. But it's still, to me, in a way, kind of predatory, but it's just more annoying than anything else. You really just got to keep your head on a swivel when you are buying and doing things online. But you really got to do that, period, whether it's online, whether it's in person. I mean, motherfuckers are like, hey, do you want this? You want that? You want... Like, no, man, I don't want. If I wanted a piece of candy, I'd put that on, in my cart. I didn't want that. Please, no, thank you. Don't ask me. But I understand it. I've been in retail. You got to hit the upsells. You got to do the thing. And essentially, if you're online, you just have your fucking algorithm do the upselling for you, and they push it really hard. So, I mean, good to see that this is a bit of a win for the people. You take them where you can, and I don't know. That's it. At least you're getting a little bit of money. I know it doesn't sound like much because it isn't per customer, but hey, more of a moral fiscal victory here, huh? So yeah, I guess you can clap it up for that. Yeah, yay. Anyway, let's go ahead and move along. Next story coming out of Yahoo Finance. Starbucks to close stores / 900 jobs in restructuring plan. Starbucks announced plans to close unprofitable locations and cut corporate jobs as CEO Brian Niccol focuses on the company's turnaround plan. In a letter posted to its blog and sent to employees on Thursday, Niccol shared that the company plans to eliminate 900 non-retail roles and close open positions, as well as part of a $1 billion restructuring effort. The memo said employees will be notified on September 26th and will offer severance and support packages, including benefits extensions. We will continue to carefully manage costs and stay focused on the key areas that drive long-term growth, Niccol wrote. This comes after the company laid off 1,100 employees earlier this year, something we covered before. Niccol said the company plans to use the savings to invest in its stores by adding more customer service employees. Other investments include new coffee house designs and innovations. Corporate employees, including support partners and people managers, are now required to come to the office 4 days a week starting September 29th, Niccol said in July. September 9th marked 1 year for Niccol at the helm of the company, which continues to face turbulent times. We also covered Niccol coming to the company from Chipotle. He had to make sure he had his little jet package set up so that he could go from one place to another. He's got to get to work. You know how it is. But he's also got to go home. Got to be accommodating for this big cheese who's making all these big fucking decisions. But that being said, it doesn't seem like there's really much proof in the fucking pudding or guac in the burrito or, I don't know, foam in the goddamn latte, because things are not going well for Starbucks. Starbucks posted a 6th straight quarterly drop in U.S. same-store sales. U.S. same-store sales fell 2% in line with the prior quarter's drop, but less than the 2.5% drop that had been forecast. So I guess in that regard, maybe they're a little happy they're not bleeding as bad. That was driven lower by a 4% decline in comparable transactions. Wall Street Journal expected a sharper 4.5 decline. Nicole also pointed to plans to reassess the store portfolio in earnings calls. Let's see here. I'm going to skip a little bit ahead. We identified coffee houses where we're able to create the physical environment our customers and partners expect, or where we don't see a path to financial performance, and these locations will be closed. Starbucks plans to invest in 1,000 locations over the next 12 months to double down on the cozy coffee house atmosphere as it moves away from pickup-focused customer services. Now, I want to stop and kind of give my 2 cents. Obviously, I'm not a business guy. I don't have a fucking degree, whatever. But I think this is a bad call. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe history will prove Nichols right. They'll prove, Mr. Coffee Burrito Man right. Because people do, I'm sure, want this third space kind of vibe, a place where they can kind of go. It's not home, it's not work. You can kind of relax here, do your thing. If you got a laptop, you got your phone, there's a little Wi-Fi. You just got to buy a fucking overpriced coffee and you'll be good to go. You'll be fine. It's such a nice thing. So cozy, so cute. But I think right now in these days, that's not really the trend. But once again, maybe I'm reading the room wrong, but I think people really want to get their shit and then get the fuck out, because Starbucks vibes are not fun. And maybe once again, I'm biased because, I've had like bad church moments at a Starbucks, which is for another time, another episode, maybe a personal one-on-one thing. But no, like Starbucks to me are not comfy, cozy little places. Don't get me wrong, if you're with the right person, right people, it's okay to maybe hang out here for your drink. But I get the fuck on. I also feel like Starbucks does not want you to linger there. I generally feel like the vibe is anti that. Hell, we've covered stories where people have been kicked out, maybe even a little bit racially motivated, but who knows, allegedly, whatever. But like at the end of the day, I do think the model of get your coffee, get the fuck out makes way more sense, especially as things get busy, especially when it's busy. Like, I just want to be in and out of there. I don't want to be hanging around, being sticky around a bunch of other people, while they're waiting for their fucking orders and shit, and it's just fucking bedlam. But hey, to each their own. Some people really don't have an option, and that's something. So I definitely want to, be accommodating to that. But once again, do I feel like Starbucks is actually accommodating? Do I think that that's actually what Nichols is actually wanting or okay with? No, I think he wants these motherfuckers to get in and get the fuck out. Also, what makes me think this is there's been like a coffee shop coming out of China. I believe it's called Luckin Coffee. And I want to say about a month or so ago, I heard an article about how they're trying to break through from China and they're trying to like get stores going in America. And they have a store in New York that is doing pretty fucking well. And essentially their model of saying, hey, order through the app, we get you a really cool fucking deal, you get a super cheap coffee, you come in, you get your coffee and you go, because there's literally like not many places or anything for you to sit and hang out. Like that's not really the vibe, it's the exact opposite. So I think actually having more of a mobile style makes sense. I know there's a place, I talked about Scooters. Scooters is more or less that. There's like at least a couple of, pretty good coffee places near me that have that vibe, have that establishment style where you just go through the drive-thru, you get your shit and you go. I think that that's easier and more streamlined. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe, like I said, maybe history will chuckle at me over time. But we'll see. We'll see what what happens, what comes of Starbucks here. But to be honest, I don't mind that Starbucks is taking a hit. I'm not really rooting for them or anything like that. But yeah, I found that to be interesting. But honestly, though, just straight up, you always know I cover these stories too because of the idea of saying, damn, losing your job like this always fucking sucks. It doesn't matter what part of the company you're in. You're getting cut out and they're replacing you with some other motherfuckers for cheaper. That's more or less what's happening here. You're just getting tilled out. And obviously I think that's fucked up. So obviously boo to fucking Starbucks for that, Tomato Town for that. But we'll see what comes. Let's move on though. I've kind of yapped enough about that. I'm done with my coffee. Let's move on to BBC News. Children's names, pictures, and addresses stolen in nursery chain hack. Hackers say they have stolen the pictures, names, and addresses of around 8,000 children from the Kiddo nursery chain. The gang of cybercriminals is using the highly sensitive information to demand a ransom from the company, which has 18 sites in and around London, with more in the US and India. The criminals say they also have information about the children's parents and careers, as well as safeguarding notes. They claim to have contacted some parents by phone as part of their extortion tactics. The BBC has contacted Kiddo for comment, but has not had a response. The company has not yet released any public statements about the hack, but parents and nurseries have been notified. Cybersecurity from Checkpoint described the targeting of nurseries as an absolute new low. One of its experts, Grammy Stewart, said to deliberately put children in schools in the firing line is indefensible. Frankly, it's appalling. Let's see, I'm going to scroll ahead a little bit here. An employee said the nursery was asking parents not to speak to the media, though some have spoken to the BBC. They go through some of the testimonials. Some of them were actually like surprisingly like pleasant about it. They weren't upset that their kids' information was harvested along with theirs. They were like, oh well, actually, the hackers who hit us up were pretty mannerly, like they use proper spelling and everything. And I think this is almost anecdotal in that regard, because like they're like, oh well, my husband works in cybersecurity, so we kind of get this stuff, like we understand. It's like, well, that's cool, but I think the average person would probably freak out and feel very unnerved that their children's information, their faces, all this kind of stuff is now in the internet, is in the dark web potentially, and the hackers are hitting you up about it. Like I would be very upset. I would not be okay about this. But they're like, oh, well, they're young, and I don't think their information is really that tangible, or that this isn't that serious, I guess, is kind of the vibe they're getting off. I'm sure they are concerned and they are worried, they're on it, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be like, oh, we gave them all the money to get this information back. The hacking group responsible for the claims appears to be relatively new and calls itself Radiant. The cyber criminals contacted the BBC about the hack and have subsequently posted details of their darknet website, or to their darknet website. I'm sorry. It has published a sample of data there, including pictures and profiles of 10 children from the stolen data set. So I already don't like this. This feels really Bushly. It is kind of giving Rookie. Once again, not that I'm a fucking expert on the matter, but I mean, hell, I've seen motherfuckers move on like hospitals and banks and things of that nature, and that felt cleaner and that felt more on the level. That felt less dirty than this story to me, because we're talking about kids, and like you could kind of say, well, this is innocuous information. It kind of doesn't matter unless you're the parent, so you don't have to really freak out. But think of the times we're fucking living in, y'all. How dark things could potentially be. What are they going to do with this information? Now that they posted it on their fucking dark little website, where is that going to go? What happens if they don't get their money? Are they going to sell it to the highest bidder? This is me and my fucking tinfoil speculation hat on, post-rapture. But like, god damn, that's scary, dude. Like, that's unsettling to me. That's unnerving. And I would think if you're a fucking hacking group, you don't want that kind of heat on you. You want people to like hear what you're doing and like go, oh man, that's crazy they did that shit, but almost like want it to feel like a Robin Hood vibe or something. I mean, maybe that's just me being romantic about this shit, but like to try to do something like this just doesn't seem like it's gonna get you the desired effect. It's not gonna get you that much money, if any. And two, I feel like it's bad rep, it's bad reputation, Like, I think there's a reason people don't go after nursery chains, like, daycare type shit. Like, that doesn't make sense. At least not to me. I mean, shit, like, we literally did cover the Jaguar Land Rover shit, and that's still an ongoing thing. That's still not fully remedied. But that, to me, makes more sense. It's on the level. It's whatever to me, and I go, okay, whoever did that, they did that shit. Whatever. We can kind of move along. But this, to me, is an ick zone. This is, to me, like, oh, why would you do that? What are you guys going to do with that info? No. Let's see here. What else did I want to pull? No, I think that reference to the... Oh, yes, I did want to talk about this, because... when asked by BBC News if they felt bad about extorting a nursery using the children's data, the criminals said they weren't asking for an enormous amount, and they deserve some compensation for a pen test. And they explain what a pen test is. A pen test, or penetration test, is a term for when ethical hackers are hired to assess the security of an organization in a controlled and professional way. These hackers, however, attacked the nursery chain without their permission. So yeah, don't fucking be snarky little snots about this shit, dude. Fuck you. Like, that's so fucking gross. Like, actually, we're just doing a pin test. Don't you think we deserve something? Like, we deserve compensation. Buzz off. Buzz off, bro. PU, you guys are stinky, dude. Like, normally, like, I almost, like, it's almost like hard for me to, like, you know, say something bad about the hackers. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. They're like the hospital hack, that was bad. You know, that's not a good one. Boo, that one. Thumbs down. But like some hacks I find interesting, fascinating. This to me, I don't. Like, I'm just saying, hey, this is the thing that happened, and boo these motherfuckers. Fuck Radiant, dude. It's a very strange story to me. I don't like it. And once again, I just don't like the pomp that they put out on top of this. Like, it would have been better had they just made it solely about money and then shut the fuck up. But to add this, like, fucking bravado to it, like you're doing the world a favor? Nah, boo. You suck. Y'all lame. Anyway, don't hack me, though. I ain't got no money on me, so don't hack me, bro. Anyway, we have one more story that I wanted to cover, and then I'll go ahead and close it out for the day. But you know what that means. It's time for our last break. Feel free to take one with me. I gotta get hydrated, gotta get to it, and then we'll get right on it. Oh, man. Yummy. All right. Our last story comes from NBC News. Trump signs executive order facilitating TikTok deal. So it looks like we finally got some meat on the plate about this fucking TikTok transfer of power. President Donald Trump signed an executive order Thursday, paving the way for a TikTok deal that could transfer majority ownership of the app to Americans. Oh, finally. I'm so glad that TikTok is about to be American. Finally. No, actually, I think this is stupid, but we'll get to that. While it appears the terms of the agreement are set, it will likely take some more time for sides to close the deal as they hammer out finer legal and financial points. This is going to be American operated all the way, Trump said during the signing on Thursday. I have great respect for President Xi, and I very much appreciate that he approved the deal because to get it done properly, we really needed the support of China and the approval of China. I also like that when we like what China's doing, we refer to Xi as president. And then when we don't, we use like the communist label, like the CCP label or whatever the fuck I've noticed. Maybe Trump usually I think keeps it consistent. I shouldn't like charge him on that. But I've definitely seen people in Congress, politicians do that shit. I'm like, motherfucker, he's a president. Stop being fucking cringe about this. You're being so fucking annoying. Like we aren't two authoritarian fucking powers at this point. Like, be fucking for real. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, sorry. I don't know why I wanted to like rail on that, but I find that annoying that we shift like a mood ring in terms of how we talk about even Xi himself in his title on some like fucking Voldemort shit or Tom Riddle. Depends on how we're feeling that day, how big our dick is. Anyway, sorry. Under the new framework agreement outlined in the executive order, TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance and its affiliates will own less than 20% of TikTok, while certain investors will retain 80% ownership. The plan would achieve the qualified divestiture, I think that's how you say it, required for TikTok to comply with federal law, according to the order. It's not clear who all the parties to the deal are, but Trump said during the signing that Oracle and its co-founder Larry Ellison will play a big role. He added that tech entrepreneur Michael Dell and media mogul Rupert Murdoch will also be involved. Gotta hit the pause button here. Crazy that in one hand, you're gonna sue Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal for $100 billion. But then in the other hand, you're gonna ask him to go in on a deal in which he's gonna put money in and you're gonna make TikTok American, right? Like when they say Trump is transactional, I do 100% believe that, because how do you make that work? Like it really, it is personal, but it also isn't personal. There are morals involved, but they're also not. It's all on a price tag, and he is willing to fucking wheel and deal as long as you give him the fucking price, or as long as you're willing to pay it. So obviously, I think Murdoch is a fucking piece of shit, and Trump as well. But like, I find that to be so fascinating how you could probably despise this man so much, but then also not give a shit at the same time. And maybe it's just different when you're dealing with this much money and you have this much money, power, you know, control over it all. You can be like that. You can play around like you're some kind of fucking Greek god or something. It's just so weird though. It's so strange. Vice President J.D. Vance said more information will be revealed in the coming weeks. Trump told reporters last week that investors are all very well-known people, very famous people, actually, financially. I like that. They do go on to talk about, well, what is the fate of the algorithm? Because essentially, the way this deal is slated, we're supposed to get full control of that precious, sweet, sweet algorithm. It's going to be fully American, and we're going to control it. So what is that going to do? And this leads to an interesting prompt in the article. When asked whether he wants to see the new algorithm suggest more MAGA content, Trump told reporters, "I always like MAGA related. If I can make it 100% MAGA, I would. But it's not going to work out that way, unfortunately," Trump said. "No, everyone's going to be treated fairly. Every group, every philosophy, every policy will be treated very fairly." I don't buy that for a fucking second. And I think the average TikTok user doesn't buy that at all. Not for a bit. I do think maybe this could be the actual death of TikTok. Maybe I'm speaking too fucking soon. Maybe I should knock on wood. I kind of don't care at this point. I was kind of freaking out a little bit about it back when the actual shutdown happened. Because I mean, shit, I post there. You know, the episode, you might be listening to this episode on TikTok right now. I give a fuck about that, obviously. I love my TikTok listeners. No, but I generally don't give a shit about TikTok. But I think that, do you want to, it's just like being on X, right? Like, I think that was a thing that killed Twitter, was when Elon Musk took it over. Now his stink is all over it. Now, like, you're seeing more right-wing bullshit. You're seeing more Nazi bullshit. You're seeing just more just bullshit and not what you actually wanted out of it. And I think that made a pretty mass exodus from Twitter. And I mean, TikTok was already a big thing at that point anyway, and I think it only ballooned and got bigger. But I think now that we're saying, well, this is going to be American controlled. Like, people don't really care about who owns it. Truly, I don't think that matters. But the algorithm potentially changing, whether it does actually change or not, I think people are going to be like, I don't like this anymore. I'm scared that it will, or I'm scared that it already has. I don't want to be a part of it. And they might move on to the next fucking thing. Maybe they move back to older apps. Who fucking knows? So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and I would be happy to be wrong here. You know, like I said, I want to see all these little apps thrive, whether or not I use them or not. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Honk honk. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we'll see what comes. This is going to be a deal that is going to take weeks, if not months, to really fully hammer out from here. Also worth noting before we close it out, he has extended it with signing this order to like January. So, you know, we have TikTok as it stands, as it is for the rest of the year, at least, and then unless they fix the deal sooner and they get it all hammered and worked out and transferred. But I'm curious who's going to have all their little fingers in the pot. I'm curious that once they get this precious little fucking algo, what comes, what changes. But I'd also add too, does it even matter anymore? And this is me now talking as a boomer, a millennial boomer, right? I can go on Reels on Instagram or Facebook, whatever. I can go on YouTube Shorts. I'm ashamed to admit it. And I can just kill time. I generally waste too much time at this point. That is my TikTok. It just works for me. And you could say, well, that's budget. That's fucking Splenda ass fucking TikTok, of course. But that leads me to say, what does the algorithm really matter anymore? It's like this has been such a dragon to chase for so long. And I think we've already got it. I think that enough of this has bled out to people to kind of recreate the sauce more or less. And I think it's kind of been like that for a while. You know, maybe you could say, no, Isaiah, it's different. TikTok's just different. And I do agree that it is different, but I think it's different just like Facebook is different from X, and X is different from I don't know, Tumblr or whatever. I know Tumblr's dead, but you know what I'm saying. They're not all the same, but they all have kind of the same kind of attributes. It's just a little bit of a different, how do you like it? How do you like, do you prefer this or that? And that's fine, right? So what are we really getting out of that algorithm? Time will tell. We'll see. All right. That's really all I have for today. If you'd like to, help out, support, become a newsie today. Let me fully explain the newsy package. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. We do shout outs. They are coming up in a few days, coming up soon. Do the newsy roll call. Shout you out, plug a project if you'd like. Let's see here. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. I remember you, TikTok. I'll never forget you. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. Also, shout out to whoever is leaving a like on my YouTube. I don't give you enough credit. You know who you are. I appreciate you. If you've made it all the way, which I hope you have, thank you. Thank you. You're loved. You're cherished. But yeah, leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. All the stars are appreciated if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But yeah, whether you do that, whether you're just a lurker, you just hang out for, just the blog part, so you're not even hearing this. I love you. I hope you feel that love, even though you didn't hear it. I love you to death. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you just being a part of this project by pressing play. That's dope. I love that shit. But yes, hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.